let me ask you a question. What if the alpha you're searching for isn't hidden in better models for deeper research, but in data sources you're not even looking at yet? The asset management industry is in the middle of a fundamental shift. Frontier AI isn't just automating research anymore, but discovering patterns, relationships, and signals that traditional analysis can't reach. The firms winning are rebuilding their alpha discovery process from the ground up. Today, I'm talking with Marco Giannabois, founder and CEO of Etna Research, who's at the forefront of applying frontier AI to alpha generation for asset and wealth managers. We're going to unpack how AI is changing the game, what's actually working versus what just noise, and how firms of all sizes can start leveraging these capabilities without rebuilding their entire research stack. Welcome, Marco, to the field.
Thank you very much, Leo. Thanks for inviting me.
Let's start with the basics. What does frontier AI actually means in the context of alpha discovery, and how is it different from the quantitative models or machine learning approach firms have been using for years?
Well, very good question. I think when we talk about frontier, is always a blend between the most advanced academic techniques, but also what actually could be implemented in clients' accounts. So obviously there is still machine learning, financial machine learning, which is quite different from machine learning applied to different verticals, different spaces. So it's actually a blend, really, getting the best of pure AI and getting the best of financial machine learning, really.
Good. Let's jump onto the second question now. There's an overwhelming amount of data available right now. How should asset and wealth managers think about which data sources actually matter, and how does AI help separate signal from the noise?
Well, I think the abundance of data is quite evident across any application in asset and wealth management. There is more, not less. The problem is, I always consider the data landscape a little bit on e-commerce, but with AI, it's really becoming a little bit more different. So you have to be very picky and choosy in the way you actually collect this information. You need a lot of expertise to do the hunting, and also a lot of expertise to actually do the proper ingestion of this data in any, alpha or alpha plus beta applications. So it's still hard to get a data ecosystem to be exploited in a way. So it's still kind of a big challenge for any mid to big or small boutique asset and wealth manager.
Now let's go. That's very interesting. Now let's go into the reality on the practical side. What does implementation actually look like for small and mid-sized managers, asset managers who want to integrate AI into their research process to stand out?
Well, there are two ways. The quick one is really about leveraging Anthropic or OpenAI and figuring out with your current data stack what you can do, what kind of workflow you can automate, and so you can be leaner on your investment team, portfolio construction team. And the second one could be like pretty much our client use case, which is kind of relying on strategic AI partner outside. So you really want to focus on what actually move the needle. You don't really want to spend time on no impact activity, and you really want to go directly to the juicy part of new solution, new products, and so on, and just having the right help, but still you are in control of your.
Yeah. And I mean, what's the biggest challenge that you're seeing there, Marco, right now in the space?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to point out that it's an industry that is facing massive pressure. So in the past, there was this belief that, things could stay the status quo for a while. But now, because of this kind of massive pressure on the top line, it's pretty clear that, asset and wealth managers need to act, need to look at this kind of new solution, need to redesign as well the organization. New orgs are going to be leaner, no matter the size, and you're going to use a lot of AI tooling, a full-fledged solution, and so on. So you really need to look forward and not just play the status quo tactical game.
Following that last sentence you mentioned, Marco, the playing field right now is super competitive. We're seeing a divide between emerging firms that are AI native and those still operating with traditional research models, let's put it like that. How wide is a gap becoming? And in your opinion, what's the competitive advantage that this will generate over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's very hard to have asset and wealth managers that are AI native and they have decent size. So they are still, I would say, is a legacy business that is transforming in this new era. So obviously, it's much harder to start with. It's easier to start greenfield, right? So that's why sometimes partners can really boost what can be done instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. Really, the biggest risk now is really about you believe that even if you are successful, you believe that your entire flow, your entire research process and implementation and solution is still leading. But the risk is that really in a few years, you're going to have this kind of massive, ecosystem of AI agents that they're going to play a massive role in any organization. And it's going to be suddenly the competition is going to change in a quarter, 2 quarters. So that's why it's very important. It doesn't matter if you are successful or not yet, is really to embrace new AI technologies and talk to people, really.
Super there. And one last question, Marco. Democratization is real. People are speaking about knowledge, or speaking about that also on the private wealth segment, on alternative investments as well. There's a narrative that AI is leveling up the playing field. Smaller, nimble managers can now access to capabilities that were once exclusive to multi-billion-dollar shops. What advice would you give to an emerging manager with limited resources who wants to start incorporating AI in their processes?
Well, I mean, first of all, AI doesn't generate straight away revenues. You still need smart people to rely on tools and AI. So it doesn't really change. I mean, if you were making money before, or you were not making money before, it's not going to change massively. You're still trying to actually protect your competitive advantage. You definitely can be faster in understanding certain type of implementation and dynamics now. But for me, the key aspect is to really be open-minded and say, where is my value here? Where I can really get the 80% of my business, and where the 20% is really something that I can delegate, because it doesn't really matter, and it's going to take 60-70% of my time to figure out what to do with the remaining 20. So it's important to figure out the priorities, something that where it's the edge of any firm, asset or wealth manager, doesn't really matter, and really focus on the 20-30 that typically sucks a lot of time. So that's for me the typical takeaway, the typical advice I give around.
So in other words, would be framework, analyze very well the use cases, and also be at the edge of being first movers, because the market is moving fast. So it's been a great chat, Marco, with you. Thanks a lot for your time. I'm happy to have you here, and looking forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Thanks, Leo. Thank you very much.